So an alien, the Joker, and a flopping fish all walk into a bar.
I thought my jokes were bad.
This has become kind of a topic right now, floating around the NBA. So with the NBA playoffs right around the corner, I thought I'd give my thoughts a little bit on who I think could be the potential MVP, because we got to talk about that. Then I would also like to talk a little bit about the 65 game rule, because I think that's come up, which it shouldn't. It shouldn't be a hot topic of like, oh my gosh, we're paying these people millions of dollars to go play 65 games. Again, I think injuries are injuries. But if you like sports content, be sure to hit that subscribe button. What are you doing? You haven't already? Anyways, let's get into the video. You look at some of the three players that people are talking about right now with stat-wise, SGA is leading it. Let's not kid ourselves. He has the most points, but then you also got to throw in Luka Doncic. We forgot about Luka because it's like, who the fedge cares, even though Luka's been super explosive this season. But everybody's talking about SGA, Victor Wembanyama, and Nikola Jokic. And I think personally, one thing that, besides points per game, my metric sort of when I look at MVP is if this player, and there's already stats that you can break this down. And spoiler alert, all the stats are led by SGA anyways. But if you take a player and you take them off the roster, how well is that team? Would the Nuggets be as good without Nikola Jokic? Hey, guess what? Short answer, no, I don't think they would be. I could say the same thing with the Thunder as well. Like, I think the Thunder are doing well and they've won this many games because of SGA. I will give him credit on that. This isn't a total, bash on everybody but Jokic kind of video. One player that I'm looking at, though, is I want to talk about Victor Wembanyama, because these are the three finalists. And my personal pick for, if we got to pick one right now, I'm taking Wemby, even though he's injured, which is why I'm touching a little bit on the 65 rule, because I think, I think there should be a curve, and I think the reason why is because if Wemby misses, I think 2 more games, he would lose out on that 65 mark, and it's like, this dude's defense alone is the reason why he's going to win the Defensive Player of the Year. And all of a sudden we're going to penalize him because he took a cheap shot and he can't play the room. You see what I mean? So I think the 65 rule, let's address it, I think is to minimize players from sitting and load management. Because let's not ignore that elephant in the room. There are guys that have missed time, whether they're doing load management or they just don't want to play, versus actually being injured. Go look at Cunningham, for example. Like, we've seen the Pistons kind of, be a little mediocre without him, which I would say Luka and Cunningham as well. Like, Pistons the number 1 seed and he's getting no recognition. Why? You know what I mean? But that's a rant for another time. I think, though, if I were to hand out an MVP from all the candidates that we have so far, let's not kid ourselves, it's probably most likely going to go to SGA, which, you know what? Again, when you're the number 1 team in the NBA, you won as many games as you did, it's well deserved. But I think, hear me out, I think what should ultimately decide, you take away the numbers, you take away the metrics and all that, I think it should come down to who's going to win the Western Conference Final. Because if we do potentially have a, Spurs versus Thunder in the Western Conference Final, why not give it to the winner of that? At some point, we got to look at, head-to-head and best of. And yeah, if we have a phenomenal 7-game series potentially between the Spurs and the Thunder, and the Spurs win and we see this young team move on to the NBA Finals, and we've seen a complete rebuild of what it is, yeah, he should win it. If not Wemby, because right now my pick would be Wemby, my tone would definitely change if I were to see Jokic go on a run again with the Nuggets. Or, hell, if we see Luka and the Lakers, if the Lakers get to the Western Conference Final and Luka continues to average over 35, that would be freaking huge. But anyways, guys, that's all I got for the video. Be sure to hit that like button, and I'll see you in the next one.